And that sucks.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Because I heard a while ago, like 4 hours ago, that
It's
they've been
450
evacuated
pounds.
because there was a fire inside.
I'm just.
But I assume it was just kind of small one. I haven't done it yet anyway. We're good.
It's so quick and easy.
New sheet this week.
Yeah.
He still doesn't have me on the conflict for Thursday.
Do you think it's harder to find to go in there and correct it? No.
So Ben just doesn't sit at the table anymore, or what?
No,
Why not?
I don't think he does. Because that table's more entertaining.
What a challenge.
Is there anyone who would like to present so that you can change your 0 to a different score?
Can I get a better score?
I'm talking about Jack or Ben Kahanis or Zach Kahanis or Trey. Oh, Trey, he's here. Or Jacob Miller or Colton or Logan or Carson. Carson's here. Nick Swanson, Ethan, Ben Wolfink. You have a 0 right now. Here's your chance to fix it. Would you like to fix it? No. Okay.
Done.
My favorite rapper.
Okay, let's just keep going as far as grade is concerned.
Good guy.
There are still about 10 of you not done with your Vietnam paper. Fix it. There's no late penalty. You could hand it in today. It'll be as valid a grade as if you handed it on the due date. It's only about 3 of you aren't done with your Sunni Shiite thingy. What's hurt many of you recently is the article summaries. You're supposed to submit to me answers to questions 1 through 12. By now, you should have read 2 articles, both for your question. All of you picked a question that has some sort of American foreign policy aspect to it. Yeah, I saw yours. You're good. You shared it with me. Okay. That just had 1, though, right? Just 1 article. It had all 4? Oh, okay. I'll note that. I stopped reading after the first one.
This goes on.
All right.
You should sharpen that pencil.
So you can assume that even though there's no school Thursday or Friday, article summary number 3 is still due this week by Wednesday. Remember that. Relax.
How are we supposed to do without class time on Thursday and Friday? That's a lot of work you're asking.
Is it?
Mr. Paul.
Is it?
Yeah.
Then don't do it until next week. Who cares?
It's a lot of work. They didn't even get another 0.
Will, you're just a bad person. Don't your core.
I'm being punished for not doing my
You're
work.
not being
That's
punished.
not the way it's supposed
So
to be.
please read article number 3, which would be the first article for the other side, right? You've read 2 yes articles for whatever your topic is. Now I'm asking you to read the first article for the other side of said issue, whatever your issue is. Any questions? And then a few of you still haven't done your Persian Gulf War test, only like 4 of you. So that's sort of your world as far as this class is concerned. Anything before we? Okay.
Nothing I want to tell you. Can you take him a picture yet?
Picture?
For the lecture, like the thumbnail picture?
I'm sure it's recording right now.
It's already recorded.
It's recorded.
Oh, you just like wave at it.
I care.
Does anybody actually watch
Obama
these?
Bin Laden?
Wait,
I get
Obama
it shows me how many
Bin
hits.
How many hits does they have in general?
is there a
Well, CIS, there's usually about
Osama rhymes with Obama? All you gotta do is change 1 letter.
I watched the CIS.
Okay.
Trying to get your channel money.
I am attempting to prove to you some things that I said I was going to prove to you, and that is that 9/11 is seen by certain people as an act of war, and that would be justifiable if there was a declaration of war, and that 9/11 was not a bolt out of the blue that the U.S. did not expect at all, but 9/11 was the latest in a series of attacks that escalated slowly, right? Your mom comes into your room. It's a mess. she says to you, "Please clean your room, honey," and leaves.
No.
10 minutes later, she comes back. You have not moved. She said, "I thought I told you to clean your room. Can you do it now for me, honey?" And she leaves. And a half hour later, she walks out. You have not even blinked. You are staring at the ceiling.
I think I have bigger.
After a while, it's no more Mr. Nice Mom. It's like she's kicking you and she's not feeding you dinner. She escalates based on the lack of a response. Well, I am telling you that 9/11 was the escalation of a series of actions on the part of Al-Qaeda. We already talked about what they wanted, but I'm going to show you all the things that Al-Qaeda did before 9/11, making a demand of the U.S. Now, you're free to say, well, the U.S. should not be negotiating with Al-Qaeda, and that's fine. That's totally fine.
We don't negotiate.
All I'm going to try and prove to you is that 9/11 was not this bolt out of the blue that the U.S. did not see at all.
Dude's floating in the Indian Ocean.
So just a little bit of background about him.
At the bottom.
He believed that you are looking at Muslim Holy Land, right? This, you and I call it Saudi Arabia. Again, you and I are from a perspective that says the way you organize Earth is through nations. But he doesn't see it that well. He didn't see it that way. He believed that this was holy Muslim land, and the presence of American soldiers there during the Persian Gulf Wars was bad. Right? This is holy Muslim land, and as a result, Christians should not be in that area. And when American soldiers showed up in 1990 to defend Saudi Arabia from this thing called Iraq, again, you and I look at this and say Saudi Arabia. You and I look at this and say Iraq, but that's not what he saw. He sees Muslimville. And as a result, the presence of Americans is wrong. He also believed, and actually would tend to agree with this, that the Saudi government is corrupt.
No.
You're talking about the government about a month ago that assassinated a writer for the New York Times.
No, that's not how it happened.
Anyway, he believed that the American military presence was an insult to Islam because the Americans are Christians. Now, statistically, that's not exactly true. Did you know that today, they just did a survey yesterday, non-religious is as common as Catholic now as the #1 religious group. Not observing any religion is as common as Catholic, okay, as the most. But still, there are a whole lot more Christians in the United States than Muslims. And so the presence of American soldiers, he saw it as Christian soldiers in Muslim land, and so he's totally against it. He believes, again, you might agree with this, that we are fat, we do drugs, we drink alcohol, we watch porn, and no thanks to American culture. No thank you. Doesn't want it. He happens to be a Sunni, and that'll matter here.
Just glossed over the Israel part.
Well, he believes Israel is an illegal entity, right? Should not have been in existence at all. Just a little bit of background. He is from Saudi Arabia. He spent a lot of time in Afghanistan during the Cold War. Why? What's going on in Afghanistan during the Cold War? Yeah, the Soviets had invaded Afghanistan, and so he's there actively fighting the Soviets with American support. This is interesting. He's part of the group that received American support. He would, after the Cold War, then use that training against the United States.
What's that group again?
The Mujahideen, right? His family is rich. The Bin Laden family is wealthy. And it's a cause. Al-Qaeda is a cause. And so received worldwide donations and continues to be financed globally by people who believe in what they're doing. There's the group Mujahideen. You are looking at a Mujahideen fighter. Anyone recognize what Stinger? It's a Stinger missile. That's right. That shoots down Soviet planes. Right? It's a shoulder-launched, one-man operational weapon, and we gave the Mujahideen these things. Well, what do you think they used against Americans after the Cold War was over.
Stingers.
Those things, right? We gave it to them to fight them, then they beat them, and then we became enemy number one because of three things. Our military presence in the Middle East, our culture, think of McDonaldization, and our support of Israel. The big three arguments against America in the Middle East. Go ahead.
It's kind of dumb, but why don't we just wait till they run out?
Why would they run out? Do they shoot at each other for fun?
Did we give them unlimited supply?
No, it's limited.
What are they gonna
But what do they have a quota they need to use per day?
No,
Well,
but
they buy it from Saudi Arabia.
This
There are
picture,
different
those are
armies.
Mujahideen standing on a Soviet helicopter that they just shot down with a Stinger missile.
No.
The CIA provided them the training, the weaponry, the money. They then used those three things against the United States in ways that I will show you here in a bit. I told you it's globally financed. All the green countries represent where funding comes from that supports Al-Qaeda. So now what I'm going to do is show you the events that happened before 9/11, 2001, where Al-Qaeda did the attacking and the U.S. was the victim. All before 9/11. My point is to prove to you that 9/11 was not this totally shocking incident, that the U.S. did not have any idea, like, my God, who are these people? What was this all about? No. We knew who the people were. We knew what it was about. And it was simply the escalation of your mom telling you to clean your room and then screaming you to clean your room and then pulling your hair to clean your room and then finally burning the house down.
Something like a son of the
So that you clean your room.
So like he asked us to.
He's your
clean
mom.
up- He asked us to clean our rooms, and we didn't. And
Yes.
after a while, he just bombed the Twin Towers.
You got it.
All right.
Okay, event number one, 1992. So that's 9 years before 9/11. 9 years before 9/11, this bombing in this chunk of land here, this is called Yemen. There's an American base in Yemen bombed by Al-Qaeda. The soldiers in Yemen were stationed there because right next to Yemen is this country called Somalia. The movie Black Hawk Down, the book Black Hawk Down, right? When the United Nations wanted American soldiers to arrest a warlord in Somalia, where do you think those soldiers came from? Yemen. Well, they have to sleep. So Al-Qaeda attacked the hotel, basically, where they slept, and then demanded, America, get out of the Middle East. Stop supporting Israel. Stop with your Walmart and your McDonald's, right? Or we will continue to do this. And of course, the answer was no, right? That's like you telling your mom, in a minute, hey, hold on, Mom. How about some meatloaf? Ma, the meatloaf. Don't worry about him, by the way.
What?
It'll make sense in a minute. Attack number 2, 1993. That's 8 years before 9/11. The Twin Towers are tall. They're very tall buildings. Physics says if you destroy the bottom of one, it will fall. Wouldn't it be cool in a sad, awful way if you could make one fall like a domino into the other one and then make that fall? That was the plan in 1993 when Al-Qaeda bombed the basement of one of the 2 towers. It didn't work because this is physics. How many of you know what a lobster is? Or a crab?
Huh?
What's the difference physics-wise between a lobster and you? Let me phrase it this way. Why does a lobster have the shape it does versus why do you have the shape you do? No, so do fish.
Weight distribution. They're external.
Let me ask it this way. Where does the lobster or the crab, where does the crab's shape, where is the shape of the crab dictated by strength? Why does a crab look like it does? What? It's an exoskeleton. Very good. You are not a pile of goo because you have a skeleton in you. It's an endoskeleton. It's a skeleton in you. The strong parts are on the inside. The soft, mushy parts are on the outside. This bomb was in the basement of one of the trade centers. It was in the middle, and it blowed up, and it did damage to the garage itself. You're looking at an underground garage, but it didn't destroy the building because the Twin Towers are an exoskeleton. It blew up the middle. It did not damage the outer part of the building because the outer part of the building is an exoskeleton. But they learned, oh, you want to destroy that building, you got to destroy the outside, not the inside.
Push learn too.
Okay. If you're wondering who this guy is, he is the mastermind of this plot. But again, the point here is this. 8 years before 9/11, Al-Qaeda attacked the Twin Towers. It didn't work. I think 8 people died or something like that. But this would be attack number 2. Let's keep going. Attack number 3. We're 5 years away from 9/11. A building in Saudi Arabia. This is a building housing American Air Force personnel. Bombed by Al-Qaeda. I don't know how many died. Oh, it says here 19 American Air Force personnel. 19, right? Similar to the Oklahoma City bombings. There's a bomb at the bottom. It blew up, causing everything above it to fall. Okay? This is 5 years before 9/11. Al-Qaeda made a demand. The U.S. said no, so Al-Qaeda did this. Let's keep going. Everyone is going to be responsible to know this sentence. It goes like this. The Imam issued a fatwa for jihad.
I just said this.
The Imam issued a fatwa for jihad. The Imam issued a fatwa for jihad. Together. The Imam issued a fatwa for jihad. To the ceiling. The Imam issued a fatwa for jihad. To that door. The Imam issued a fatwa for jihad. Come on! The Imam issued a fatwa for jihad. Imam is holy person. Fatwa is religious order, and jihad is struggle. The holy person gave a religious order to struggle against the Americans. That's what it means. The Imam issued a fatwa for jihad. That is English. Yes, it is. The Imam issued a fatwa for jihad. Okay. The Imam in this case is Osama bin Laden, recognized by some as a religious figure, recognized by most as a terrorist, right? But still, some people recognized him. He issued a fatwa against 2 groups, Jews and what he called crusaders. There's another word for crusaders, Americans. He issued a fatwa. All Muslims must kill any Jew or American. He called them crusaders. It's the same thing. Yes, dear. Yeah. He issued this fatwa twice. In 1996, that's 5 years before 9/11, and in 1998, that's 3 years before 9/11. Kill all Americans, steal any American wealth, and stop when the Americans do 3 things. Withdraw from the Middle East, end McDonaldization and Walmartization, and stop supporting Israel. This is your declaration of war. Here it is. 5 years and 3 years before 9/11, he declared war, which according to you people means 9/11 was not an act of terrorism. It was an act of war. Now, that doesn't mean we should support it as good.
What do you mean?
Right? During World War II, the Japanese and the Germans did all sorts of awful things to Americans, but because it was during a war, that doesn't mean the Americans said, well, that's okay. It's still bad. It's just not terrorism. If interrupt for just a moment, there was someone, I can't remember who it was, that made a really good point. Who made that point? And that said, nope, groups cannot declare war. Only countries can declare war. Okay, great. Now, why? Now, someone who's been listening today, why? Explain to me why Al-Qaeda would disagree with you. Our argument was, you don't get to declare war. You're a nation. You're not a nation. What would his refutation be? Yes. Very good. I don't recognize your view of how the world should be organized. You don't get to make the rules about who can or can't declare war. You're saying I don't have the right to declare war because of your worldview. Stop it. Stop imposing your view on us. We disagree with you. Don't worry about that. That'll be a factor later. Let's keep going with the timeline. We haven't even gotten to 9/11 yet. 1998 in Kenya. That's the American embassy in the capital, Nairobi. Blown up by Al-Qaeda. That's 3 years before 9/11. Get out of the Middle East. Stop with your American culture. Stop supporting Israel. No, it's your mom yelling at you to clean the room. 1998. Very close. Look, here's Kenya. Here's Tanzania. This is the American embassy in Tanzania. Al-Qaeda attacks it in 1998. That's 3 years before 9/11. How many attacks is that by now? 6? I don't even know. 5? Okay. By the way, fun little fact here, which is neither fun, but it is a fact. My uncle was climbing Mount Kilimanjaro and heard this explosion. And obviously did not know what it was. Ended up going down to the city and then realized that the American embassy, and then he got out of Dodge because it's not a safe place to be for an American at the time. Okay, let's keep going. We're still not 9/11. This is a naval vessel. It's the USS Cole. And there's the hole in the naval vessel. The USS Cole was stationed in Yemen. Remember Yemen? Yemen's the country right by Somalia. It's a naval vessel stationed there. A little dinghy, an inflatable boat, approached it one day in the year 2000. The American sailors looked over it and thought, how cute. A little inflatable boat is approaching. It bounced into the boat, and then all the explosive in it detonated, killing everyone that was on the boat, so both of them. And then the Americans that were in the on the boat, 17 Americans died. What's cool about this story is that you might think, well, why didn't it sink? It didn't sink, right? American naval vessels are designed to take what would seem to be a devastating blow and not sink, right? The mistake of the Titanic was not that it was impenetrable and then the iceberg ripped the side. The mistake of the Titanic was that they forgot to put caps on top, because boats like this are designed to be struck by attacks like this and not sink, because this part of the boat is sealed off from this part and that part. So it's still buoyant. Hey, there's a scientific term I just used, Mr. Anderson. Buoyant.
Sounds like things are floating in here.
That's right. What they did was they took this boat. So there it is in Yemen. It's not sinking, but it's obviously damaged. The United States Navy sent this boat to go get it. This boat is designed to sink, get under, and then float again. So it went under the coal and then floated again, brought back to Virginia. They were going to repair it. 1 year later, 9/11 occurred. They took metal from the Twin Towers and fixed it with that metal. The USS Cole is in active service today with metal from the Twin Towers. Eat it! Eat it, terrorists! Anyway, 1 year before 9/11. 1 year before 9/11. We'll look at that later. Okay, take a 2-minute break while I set up for our next step here. The point of today was 9/11 was not this attack out of the blue. No, it wasn't. Question. 1998. That's 1998. Okay. Please be patient with me. I just need to cover a little bit more stuff, and then you will be able to think about. Remember when I said that some countries it's very safe but not real free, and then in other countries it's very free but very dangerous, and that the U.S. is sort of in the middle. And we looked at what Germans do to combat terrorism, and you were comfortable with some of them, and then you looked at some of the others and like, that might be a little bit too far. For example, their right to search anywhere without probable cause, right? The American cops can't just pull you over just because, hey, you're black and black people don't own Cadillacs or whatever stupid stereotype exists out there. They need probable cause, but in West Germany, they didn't. No probable cause necessary. They could just pull you over for whatever reason. That might keep West Germany safe, but is it going too far? Let's look at another group. In Italy, the KKK of Italy is called the Red Brigade. The Red Brigade. You're looking at the most infamous event in the Red Brigade's history. They kidnapped the leader of Italy. They got him. Can you imagine if some radical black group kidnapped President Trump? And they got him, right? Now, whether you are in favor of Trump or against him, the idea of an American president being kidnapped by a terrorist group is awful. Okay, that's what happened in Italy. So the Red Brigade, they are some bad mouth bows. Their favorite technique is called kneecapping.
Wonderful.
At point blank range, they take a gun and put it right on your kneecap and fire. Right? They don't want to kill you; they want to injure you. Did you know that army training during World War II said, don't kill the Germans, injure them. If you kill the German, you've just gotten rid of one German. If you injure him, you've gotten rid of two. The injured German and the German who's going to take him and pull him back. So don't kill them, injure them. Another common thing was that the noble thing of the Japanese was to die for their country. And the American response was, yep, let's help them do that. Let's help them die for their country. But you are not allowed to die, Marines. That's going. So the Japanese are trying to die, and the Marines are helping them accomplish that goal. So they had the common goal.
Yeah.
They both wanted the same thing. Win-win. Win-win. So let's look at what Italy does. And again, you're being asked to decide, does that look like something the U.S. should do, or is that going a little bit too far? So the police have extraordinary rights to stop and pull over anyone without probable cause. Again, do you think our cops should have that right, or do you think is the possibility of abuse real? In Italy, well, let's talk about what's true here. Hey, let's say the cops want to tap your phone. Can they just decide to tap your phone?
Here, yeah.
No, they can't.
Yes, they can.
No, they can't. Does anyone know the process?
You believe that they can't, but they do.
Cop wants to tap your phone because they think you're a drug dealer. Who do they have to talk to get that to happen? A judge. That's right. A cop is in the executive branch. A judge is in the judicial branch. So someone from this branch has to talk to someone from this branch. But in Italy, I have to convince me that you are a drug dealer and tap your phone. There's no separation of the responsibility that exists in our country. Do you think the way we do it is the better idea, or do you think that the way Italy does it is the better idea? Okay. It is a crime in Italy to even be a part of a group that engages in terrorism. Not true here. Again, you could be a Nazi here. You could be a KKK member here. You cannot be part of the Red Brigade in Italy. The organization itself is illegal. Is that going too far, or should we be doing that? Okay. Unlike Germany, remember Germany made no deals. Italy makes deals. Which is the better way to go? Germany says absolutely no deal. No deal, no! But the Italians are like, spaghetti. You tell us we give you a spaghetti.
Sam would like
That's my Italian.
I would take that deal. I'd tell my thing.
Okay, one more, and then we're going to shift gears here, and you're going to think about how you would approach this, okay? Northern Ireland. So, quick little history lesson here. This is England. There's Scotland.
What Wales?
There's Wales, and there's Northern Ireland. England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland equals Great Britain.
The UK.
Or the United Kingdom, okay? Those four entities make up this thing called Great Britain. But there's this other thing called Ireland. There's the island Ireland, and then there's the country Ireland. They're not the same thing. They're close, but they're not quite the same thing. The island of Ireland actually has two countries on it. Northern Ireland's Great Britain, and the country Ireland, okay? Here's the thing, though. About half of the population of Northern Ireland, about half, that's part of Britain, don't want to be part of Britain. They want to be part of the country Ireland. And they formed their own terrorist group called the IRA. Very good. The Irish Republican Army. So their targets are British soldiers, locations in London, pubs, whatever. Okay. An old picture of the IRA, a very heavy presence right around World War I up through about the 1980s, I would say is the IRA's heyday. Okay. What could the British do in Northern Ireland? Again, you as an American, you should be looking at these like, gee, that's a good idea. Or you should be looking at this like, wow, that is too far. Okay. Police, no warrants. They can search your house. No warrant. They can just search your house in Northern Ireland. Do you think that's a good idea? I mean, think about it. If the cop rings your doorbell and says, we'd like to search your house, and they don't have a warrant, you could say no, and then quickly go to the bathroom and do some flushing. There's nothing the cop can do. Nothing. Now, if they have a court order, they can search your house. But without a court order, they cannot enter your house. Now, unless, right, they ring your doorbell, you open it, and they say, we have a court order to search for these items. By the way, if they find something that is not on the court order, they cannot use it, right? If they're looking for illegal drugs, but instead what they do is they find, I don't know, fireworks.
A dead person.
No, that's the exception. You're not in trouble legally until they get another search warrant, right? So if they search and they find illegal stuff, but it's not on the search warrant, they are probably fleeing to their cop car to get a judge to sign a new search warrant, and that's when you should be doing some flushing.
Why are you trying to help us with criminal activity?
Keep that in mind. He's helping us with criminal activity.
I'm not. I don't mean any of this. Okay. How long can the cops hold you in the United States?
A day?
It depends on the state. It's somewhere between a day and 2 days. And then they have to either release you or charge you. You have a question?
Oh, I was going to ask, is it possible to have a warrant where they don't specify what they're searching for? And they're just like, we're going to look.
That's called a carte blanche warrant, and it is unconstitutional in the U.S. We're going to search your house just for, let's just see. Nope. They can't do that. They can't do that in Northern Ireland. Okay? In Northern Ireland, you can be held for 72 hours. That's 3 days. 3 days. Here it's 1 or 2. There, 3. There are no jury trials. How about that? No jury trials. What happened in Northern Ireland was that they would accuse Trey here of being an IRA member. They would bring a jury. The next day, members of the jury's family would be found dead. Somehow, he got the message to his IRA partners to kill family members of the jury. Solution, get rid of the jury. You going to kill a judge? Because the judge becomes the jury when there's no jury trial. Okay? That's an interesting solution, isn't it? Is that going too far? How about this one? In the United States, let's say that I commit a crime in the parking lot and Tyler saw the whole thing. Tyler's called to the witness stand during the trial, and the prosecutor says, all right, what'd you see? Go ahead. What'd you see?
Nothing.
No. Tell the jury what you saw.
Mr. Potter killed someone.
Very good. Wow. Okay. Does anyone know what is my right? I'm the person on trial. What is my right as far as Tyler's concerned? What can I do?
No, I didn't.
I can question him. I have the right to question him. And so I'll say something like this. So, Tyler, you saw me, huh? Tyler, what color are my eyes?
Blue.
Hey, oh, wow.
What color tie was I wearing that day?
A black one.
Wrong! See, I can cross-examine. No cross-examinations in Northern Ireland trials. Instead, what happens is the prosecuting attorney simply submits a statement that is on paper and has the judge read it. Are you going to cross-examine a piece of paper? Nope. You can't. There is no cross-examination. Now, is that going too far? Okay. In Northern Ireland, the presumption is you're guilty. You have to prove you're not guilty. What's true here? Presumption of innocence, right? It is not. If any of you, God forbid, but if any of you are ever put on trial, you don't have to prove you didn't do it. You just have to prove that the prosecution did a poor job of proving you did it. For example, here I am in the parking lot again, and I have a little file, and I'm sick of Trey, and his stupid face, and his stupid nose, and so I'm going to cut his Achilles, right? So he goes to his car, he's on his car, and slices Achilles, and down goes Frazier. And I grab him, shove him into the car, and I drive away, and all the way telling him how stupid his face is and how I hope his Achilles is really hurting. Okay? But Jack sees the whole thing. You saw the whole thing. Okay. Here we are at trial. All right? I am now the prosecuting attorney. Mr. Potter's sitting over there. I am now the prosecuting attorney. Jack, tell the jury what you saw. No, not you. Mr. Potter's over there. I'm the prosecuting attorney. All right, I'm done with you. So he sits down. And now the defense attorney, I'm representing Mr. Potter. So, Jack, you saw him slice his Achilles, huh? Jack, what's your GPA?
1.2.
And I sit down and I rest my case, okay? He admits that his GPA is 1.2. I don't know if that's true or not. Let's just keep that. Let's just pretend that that's true. Now, did the defense attorney prove that Jack did not see Mr. Potter cut Trey's Achilles? No, he didn't. He proved that he's not real good at math, I guess. You can't do that in Northern Ireland. The presumption is you did it. You have to prove you didn't do it. I did not prove that I did not cut his Achilles. All I proved is he can't add, which is a strategy used in the U.S., but not in Northern Ireland because the presumption is you did it. You have to prove you didn't do it. The presumption of guilt, okay? Again, is that a little too far, or is that something that the U.S. should consider? I showed you up here that you can be held for 3 days, except in cases of what's called terrorism. In terrorism, they can hold you for a week. 1 full week before the cops have to charge you or let you go. Is that something we should do, or is that a little too far? Okay. So I'm going to leave this up here, and I will remind you of some of the things that Italy does, which is right here, and Germany, which is right here. Your job, when you walk in the door tomorrow, you got 10 minutes. There's no reason why you couldn't finish this little assignment in 10 minutes. Number 1, I need your new name. You are inventing a character. You are going to be this character when you walk in the door tomorrow. Number 2, what state do you represent? Because this is going to be a congressional simulation. And if you're from Alabama, I bet he a Southern drawl. Or maybe you're from the northern part of Florida where you gotta talk like you got molasses dripping from your tongue. Or maybe you're from Jersey. Are you from Jersey? I'm from Jersey. You from Jersey? Where are you from? Any of you ever heard of Brian Witzman? Brian Witzman plays professional football. He did this simulation, and he was the dumbest sounding Hawaiian I've ever heard. Fun little story about Brian Witzman. Back when Brian Witzman was a senior, we used to do senior announcements. So a senior would go on like Hunter, but it would be a different senior every week. And the last thing the senior would say every time was, make it a great day or not, the choice is yours. Okay? And I bet Brian Witzman $1. I said, Brian, I bet you can't go the full week without messing up. And he made it through Monday. And he made it through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It all came down to Friday. And he says, make it a great day or not, the choice is yours. This is Wyan Witzman. Okay? And we heard Brian running down the hall, large fella. We could feel the bouncing of the halls as Brian ran to my room. And he said, where's my $1, Mr. Potter? And I said, here you go, Wyan. And he left never knowing that he called himself Wyan Blitzman that day, and I let it go. Because that's the kind of man I am. Okay. So, number 1, what's your name? Number 2, where are you from? What state are you from? And then, number 3, you need to come up with a proposal for a law where you would like to introduce some of these radical ideas that are done in either Germany or Italy or Britain, or tweak it, right? Make it something that you would be comfortable doing. What should the U.S. be doing today that it is not doing? Okay? Come up with your idea for what should the U.S. be doing. Okay? You're free to use any of these if you want, from either Germany or Italy or Britain, or come up with your own. That'd be even more impressive. Okay? Come to class tomorrow with your idea and your new identity and where you're from.
Wait, you're not going to assign us a state?
No, you're assigning you a state.
Well, but what if we all pick a state?
I doubt that'll happen.
Guys, let's all pick Florida.
I like Florida. We all go for Florida?
Hey, otherwise I'm done. Again, name, where you're from, and your proposal for what should the U.S. do, and make it something you actually believe. Okay? Which, by the way, might mean you don't believe the government should do anything. Okay. Great.
I pose that we shoot all terrorists on sight. All suspected terrorists.
What state are you?
Texas.
What? Let's not do that. Let's not be Michigan.
Flint, Michigan. Oh wait, all suspected terrorists torture them with lead water until they get
Hunter, can we be Flint, Michigan, and propose that all suspected terrorists must drink our lead water?
All suspected.
Do a really good lie test, so.